a great tragedy and immense loss for the people in Israel. Our prayers are with those who have passed because of it and those who have left behind. Our condolences and prayers to all those families for their great loss. We're at least 44 dead after his religious festival stampede in Israel. A stampede at a religious festival attended by tens of thousands of ultra-Orthodox Jews in northern Israel killed at least 44 people and injured about 150 early Friday. Medical officials said it was one of the country's deadliest civilian disasters. Israeli security officials and rescuers stand around the bodies of victims who died during a Lag BaOmer celebrations at Mount Meron in northern Israel. The stampede began when large numbers of people thronged a narrow tunnel-like passage during the event, according to witnesses and video footage. People began falling on top of each other near the end of the walkway as they descended slippery metal stairs, witnesses said. Masses of people were pushed into the same corner and a vortex was created. A man identified only by his first name, Devere, told Israel Army Radio. He described the terrifying sight as the first row of people fell down. He said he was in the next row of people that tripped. I felt like I was about to die, he said. Video footage showed large numbers of people, most of them black-clad ultra-Orthodox men, squeezed in the tunnel. The Haaretz daily quoted witnesses as saying police barricades had prevented people from exiting quickly. The stampede occurred during the celebration of Lag BaOmer at Mount Meron, the first mass religious gathering to be held legally since Israel lifted nearly all restrictions related to the coronavirus pandemic. The country has seen cases plummet since launching one of the world's most successful vaccination campaigns late last year. Lag BaOmer draws tens of thousands of people, most of them ultra-Orthodox Jews, each year to honour Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, a 2nd century sage and mystic who is buried there. Large crowds traditionally light bonfires, pray and dance as a part of the celebrations. He must have been a great man, you know. This year, media estimated the crowd at about 100,000 people. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the stampede a great tragedy and said everyone was praying for the victims, as we are here at the Ministry of the Real Truth. After the stampede, photos showed rows of wrapped bodies lying on the ground with dozens of ambulances at the site. By mid-morning Friday, efforts were still underway to identify victims and connect families with missing relatives. In the night from Thursday to Friday, cell phone coverage around Mount Meron had collapsed for hours and emergency hotlines were overwhelmed with phone calls. In the overwhelming ultra-Orthodox city of Bnei Brak, near Tel Aviv, officials were working with healthcare workers to connect the families of the missing. The picture is slowly becoming clearer, Kavit Hess, municipal spokesman, told Channel 13 TV. The station published the photos of 7 boys and teens and asked for help in locating them. In a race against time, funerals were to be held before sundown Friday. Yeah, I can guess why. The start of the Jewish Sabbath, when burials do not take place. In all, 44 people were killed, according to the Zaka ambulance service. The death toll was on par with the number of people killed in a 2010 forest fire, which is believed to be the deadliest civilian tragedy in the country's history. Zaki Heller, spokesman for the Magen David Adom Rescue Service, said 150 people had been hospitalised, with 6 in critical condition. Heller told Israel Army Radio that no one had ever dreamed, who would ever have thought something like this could happen in a moment. In one moment we went from a happy event to an immense tragedy, he said. The Justice Ministry said Friday morning that the police's internal investigations department was launching a probe into possible criminal misconduct by officers. The deadly stampede was also bound to have political reverberations at a time of great uncertainty, following an inconclusive March election, the fourth in 2 years. Netanyahu has so far been unsuccessful in forming a governing coalition, and his time for doing so runs out as early as next week. His political rivals, including former allies bent on ending his 12-year rule, will then get a chance to try to... Wow, 12 years. Must have been light, eh? Will then get a chance to try cobble together as an alliance from a patchwork of left-wing, centrist and hawkish parties. Netanyahu needs the continued support of ultra-Orthodox parties, his long-time allies, if he wants to keep faint hopes alive of staying in power. Israeli media reported Friday that earlier this month Netanyahu assured ultra-Orthodox politicians in a meeting that the Lag BaOmer celebrations would take place with few limitations. The report said this decision was supported by cabinet ministers and police, despite objections by health officials who warned of a risk of renewed coronavirus infections. Last year, observances on Mount Meron were limited due to the pandemic. This year, Public Security Minister Amir Ohana, Police Chief Yaakov Shabtai and other top officials visited the event and met with police who had deployed 5,000 extra forces to maintain order. At the start of the celebrations, Ohana, a close ally of Netanyahu, thanked police for their hard work and dedication, for protecting the well-being and security for the many participants, as he wished the country a happy holiday. Yeah, and again, our prayers are with those people who have lost people, the families of those people. What a great tragedy, what an even more immense loss. More than 100 people were injured, dozens critically in a stampede at a Jewish religious gathering in northern Israel attended by tens of thousands of people, Israel's main rescue service said today. Okay, so we're going to have a look at this video. Okay, that was very short, very sweet. Okay, yeah.
New Zealand has joined the group of nations donating help to India as the country's COVID crisis deepens. Taxpayers giving $1 million to the Red Cross for critical needs such as oxygen. And it comes as we lift our India travel ban, allowing citizens and their families to return from tonight despite another COVID surge. India breaking 2 daily records with more than 3,000 deaths and more than 360,000 new cases in just the last 24 hours. The official toll has now passed 200,000, but the real figure is believed to be far higher. Laura James has the latest.
These fires are burning non-stop, yet crematoriums can't keep up.
So many people are dying and brought here. Every day, at least 250 to 300 bodies are brought here. We see it.
Hindu cremations are usually a day after death. In the chaos of this crisis, that's too quick to test for COVID.
50% of deaths are not registered by the government as COVID-19. Our NGO brings bodies to be cremated directly from homes of victims. The government only counts related deaths of victims who die in a hospital.
It's also believed health officials are being told to attribute deaths to pre-existing conditions to help the government save face.
Just tell me, how many did you register today? How many deaths? 20.
But that's not even half of what was seen here in just 1 hour.
Delhi government says that 380 people are dying every day from corona, but it's actually around 1,000, more than 1,000.
One Indian virus expert fears 500 million Indians have been infected, nearly 30 times the reported figure, 1 in 3 people.
The situation is critical right now. This pandemic pandemic is the worst we have ever seen till now. And these 2 weeks are going to be a hell for us.
So many people are dying because they are unable to get the most basic services.
Anger is growing.
After a patient passed away, the attendants attacked doctors, nurses.
There are thousands in
Smacking
India
them over.
that call New Zealand home. The total travel ban is being lifted at midnight, but new travel restrictions exclude those who aren't citizens.
I know families who've lived here 10 or more years. So somebody who's given a country a whole decade of their life, by not allowing them back, we are effectively rendering them stateless.
And we shouldn't expect a flood of citizens either.
It seems close to impossible because there are no flights out. Normally the way out for us would be by Emirates, but Emirates is also banned flights.
Sujatha and her husband were diagnosed with COVID 2 weeks ago.
It was very scary. We couldn't get a bed. But thank God we are all fine now. We're back home.
Now desperate to be reunited with their son, who's here.
I'm missing him very much.
Our government's contributing $1 million to the fight for life in India, but that's just a drop in the bucket as the crisis here only deepens. Laura James, One News.
Good on you, New Zealand, for donating $1 million to these poor people. Wow, another great tragedy. India's been hit really hard with it. With the coronavirus. Won't say much more than that. I've got an idea, it's a conspiracy idea, but I'll keep that to myself at this particular moment. Okay, so if you enjoyed that video, well, let's not say enjoyed it. Yeah, let me rephrase that. If you feel for these people, yeah, then donate to the Indian cause. Help these people. And keep them in your prayers. And New Zealand, show the Indian people here love. Okay? And all the Jewish community as well, for their great loss. They may have lost people in Israel and can't get back there.